Everybody, welcome to Stack Your Points. Thanks for watching and listening. And this is the Friday Q&A segment. So your questions, we answer them, sometimes up to an hour, sometimes it creates its own episode in and of itself. So if you have questions, always feel free to drop them on the YouTube channel or email us at stackyourpoints@gmail.com. But we hope you enjoy this week's Q&A session. Thanks for watching and listening.
So we're going to continue our business card theme with questions from our audience. This section, we like to take questions, whether it come from our Stack Your Points podcast Discord server, if it's email questions or questions on our YouTube page. So we do have our first question that comes from Kid Cat, who asks, what business card do you think receives undue hate from the community that could genuinely help new or new to credit small business owners? I think the first one I'm going to come up with on this one, I'll answer first here. The American Express Plum Business Card. And the Plum Business Card is great for a very particular type of business owner. That is folks who are bringing in large amounts of inventory and waiting for them, and then need to sell that inventory. So the Plum card will get you 1.5% cash back, and it's American Express cash back, but neither here nor there. 1.5% cash back if you pay the card early, but you can extend out interest free. I believe it's about 60 days at a time with that card. So you make your payment, you bring in your inventory, you sell your inventory. It takes about 45 days to turn everything around to pay off your minimum balance on that card. If you can pay it off early, you got 1.5%. If you can't pay it off early, you've got that extra time to pay it off. And so for those getting into merchandising, those getting into needing to spend a large amount of money on inventory and then needing that time to turn it around, it's a great card for that. Folks in the smash and grab side of things see that there's no welcome offer on that card. There's no way to generate membership reward points. There's no way to utilize that card to extend their either cashback strategy with American Express or their membership rewards strategy with American Express. So they don't truly get what that card's about, especially since that card has a $195 annual fee. So I'll say the Plum card gets undue hate, but the Plum card is not for those who are looking to accentuate their membership rewards earnings. RJ, do you have a card that gets undue hate on the business side of things?
Well, since you just took mine, it is $250, by the way, for the annual fee. It was changed.
Womp.
So I'm gonna go with a card that is weird, but I think it can be very interesting. And that is the US Bank Leverage card. Now, this is a weird card, but it has categories that literally nobody else has that you can get 2% cash back in. There are 48 of them. There are things like, your usual cable, satellite, TV, radio, but you can also do things like, let's see, there's some freight and transport, there's some gas, there's hotels, but there's also like veterinary services and, things like that you don't usually see. I'm trying to also read and talk at the same time, which is not necessarily easy when you were prepared to talk about the Plum card, but that's okay. But yeah, no, I think the leverage, if you have a sort of a niche thing that this cashback card can give you that most other cashback cards won't, I think this could be a good one.
I apologize for nothing. But no, the business leverage is a interesting card to say the least. I would have thought you would have picked the US Bank Altitude Power card, but that's another oddball.
It's so weird compared to the USBAR that I can't do it.
That's fair. No, but the leverage actually has a use. The power is just an odd duck. Lonnie, is there a business card that you feel gets undue hate in the credit community?
Yes, there is. And not just undue hate, undue respect, where it is just dragged through the mud, told over time and time again that it's just useless and pointless. Get the sign up bonus and cancel it later. And that's the Ink Unlimited card. It is, look, I'll call it what it is. It is probably the most simple business card out there. And actually, going back to my year, because I did some research today, one of my top 3 videos I've ever made was 100% about being simple and how people are leaning into simple. And you can't get more simple than a $0 annual fee card that only gives you 1.5% on everything. You can't get more simple. I just named off everything on the card just now in that one little line, by the way. It doesn't do anything else. Going back to our segment that we just left, let's talk about someone that's getting brand new into a legit business, side business, YouTube business, smash and grab. It's simple. If you want to create good habits, and we talked about this last week, create good financial habits. Now we're talking about good business financial habits. You don't want to have too much out there. You don't want to think too much of, do I use this one at Verizon? Do I use this one at Home Depot? Do I use this, for whatever else? I pick 2 categories that I use the most and get my points back. Dude, just swipe the card. Just swipe the card and go on with your day. Have a Coke and a smile, straight up. It is that simple. It gets so much hate where people say it's useless. Like I said, it gets so much disrespect that people just say, just get the sign up bonus and throw it away. Where I say it is actually more powerful for a beginner than it gets credit for. That is my answer. And I yield the floor.
No, the Ink Unlimited is definitely one of the strongest beginner business cards for sure. I love that card as my base catch-all in the Chase ecosystem. My only problem is I found a 2% card that's just as easy and in an ecosystem that doesn't have transfer partners, and I sit here in shame.
Can I add one extra thing to that? Especially now, only because you said Chase ecosystem. Because we talked about the Chase trifecta before, right?
Yep.
And it's like Freedom Unlimited, Freedom Flex, and then one of the Sapphire cards. Call it what you want. But go ahead and get your Sapphire card and your Flex card, and then go get the Business Unlimited instead. Still earns UR points. You're going to get, especially as of right now, at the time we record this, you're going to get a way higher sign-up bonus than you're going to get from the personal Freedom Unlimited. And yet, still $0 annual fee, still simple. Call it what you will. Does not get the respect that it deserves. It gets overlooked. And I see you, Ink Unlimited. I see you. Call me if you need me.
No, I definitely enjoy the Ink Unlimited. That was the first one. It is a card that I plan on opening again at some point. Tariq, is there any card that you feel gets disrespect in the credit community that is a business card?
So before I mentioned my card, I did want to double back on what Lonnie said about the Ink Unlimited. I actually have a friend of mine. He is starting a business and he was wanting to get into business credit. And I told him, I was like, hey, honestly, you may not even worry about the welcome offer for the spend for the type of business that you have, but just get the Ink Unlimited. It's just going to be a simple card. You don't have to worry about any added multipliers or anything. And so you're good to go. And also, that is my exact Chase trifecta. I have a Sapphire Preferred, a Freedom Flex, and this Ink Unlimited. So, Lonnie, I felt like you were speaking to me on that. Anyway, on to my card. My card is from an issuer that people love, but also love to hate. And especially for a specific premium travel card they have. And that's with Capital One. And I'm talking about the Spark Business Cash line of cards. The reason why I say this is because in the Points and Miles community, Capital One for the business cards get a lot of flack because those cards specifically report to their business credit or for personal credit, excuse me. But for what we know Capital One for, with their platinum secured card, and even the Quicksilver cards, is that they're really good for beginners. So with beginner businesses that are still working up and still trying to use their personal credit, it might even be something beneficial to help. But then another reason why I say that, depending on if you get like one of their higher, Spark 2% cash plus card, or even the standard 2% cash card, is that the welcome offer spend requirement is significantly higher. For example, for the Spark 2% cash plus, it's spend $30K in the first 3 months and you'll get $4,000, or $30K or $500,000 in the first year and you get like $4,000 total. So for most of these people with businesses, that's almost seemingly impossible to do. But if you are, depending on the type of business where you have that much spend, that could be beneficial, and you could put that towards whatever employee program benefit or anything that goes back into your business for that. So for a true business card, that could be beneficial even with the annual fee included.
Yeah, the Spark cards have huge spend requirements, but if you are in the right if you're in the right ability to leverage those cards, they can produce either a lot of cash back for you, or if you do the Spark Miles cards, a lot of miles that you can transfer over to your Venture X to transfer to transfer partners, or use the Business Venture X, which also has like an absurdly high minimum spend for its welcome offer, but it also can generate a ridiculous amount of points, even as a 2 times business point earning card. But yeah, those Spark cards are interesting, to say the least. Were there any other cards that we wanted to say absolutely merit the hatred they may get?
The Amex Green is the worst credit card that Amex makes, and I include both of the everyday cards in that. I include every co-branded card in that. I hate it and I want it to die in a fire. All it needs to do is take what the business goal did, make everything 3x, maybe change the categories around if they're feeling frisky. It's all set. But no, it must be the worst card that you make, Amex, because you hate me a little bit, just a little bit. I hate that card so much.
Well, if it's not good for your business, why are you worried about it?
Because it befouls the Amex lineup by simply existing.
No argument here. That card has a weak welcome offer. It shouldn't be $95. It's only 2 times points in the Amazon travel portal. It is a dog of a card. So no, I can definitely agree on that one. I don't have any other dishonorable mentions, but I just wanted to see if there was any other cards you guys thought absolutely deserve the vitriol that they get, because they are just bad cards. All right. With that, we'll move on to our next question. So thank you, KitKat, as always, for your questions here. We've got our next question, which comes from AP. That is, what business card would you recommend for an Uber driver? Probably the most popular, ubiquitous small business that most have, and why? So AP, I'm going to throw this to Tariq to start. Tariq, what business card would you recommend for an Uber driver, and why?
So my choice is going to be for someone who actually is going to use their business spend and actually still travel for whatever reason, whether it's a business or a business. And this is actually a card that I have recently opened in the past few months, that being the Chase IHG Premier Business Card. And for the reason why is because it's one of the few only Chase cards that has a multiplier on gas. You're going to earn 5x IHG points per dollar for gas spend, and for any other miscellaneous spend, whether it be for routine maintenance, registration, you blew a tire, you got to go to Discount Tire and get a replacement, whatever it may be, you're going to get 3 points per dollar on that. With a $99 annual fee, you'll get the hotel free night credit. I've talked about this card a few times, but for the multipliers on, like for somebody that is going to be, whether Uber Eats, rideshare, it's going to be a good card to earn something in a hotel rewards program that you may prefer.
All right. Lonnie, if you happen to be recommending a credit card for an Uber driver, what credit card and why on the business side?
I got to follow RJ and say Tariq stole my answer. And that was...
Sorry, not sorry.
No, it's a good answer. Like, that's a compliment to both of us. It was a good answer. So it's not a specific card. So I wouldn't recommend a specific card, but in the same vein of what Tariq has just said. So I'm going to very shortly elaborate and add my little, 2 cents on top of it. Is yes, if you're going to be, let's just say the hypothetical Uber driver, and you want to get a business card that's either going to complement the business. So as Tariq had mentioned, if you're actually going to use it on gas or for car maintenance or whatever else that you may need, buying water bottles or something for your guests in the back, whatever, then yes, get that because it complements the actual business. If you don't actually care about that stuff, or that's not the reason you're looking to get the business card, get something that complements the strategy that you're already trying to build around. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a plan A strategy. It could be your plan B strategy. So like if I already have my plan A strategy airtight, then I might want to get a business card for my plan B strategy. Maybe get a card that was for my plan B airline. Or also, as Tariq mentioned, maybe this is the time that you might introduce yourself to a hotel card, or you already have your plan A hotel in your main strategy. Well, we all know there's always a different hotel you can stay at. There's always another hotel that might be closer to the destination that you want to get to, or in the locale of the destination that you want to stay in. And it might be Hyatt, might be Marriott, might be IHG. I go to IHGs. I use that on my work side, and I'm starting to fold that into my personal side. So if I'm not staying at IHG, maybe if I had this hypothetical Uber driver position, I'd pick a Hyatt card or Hilton card, something of that nature. So I would say get something that makes sense is to really sum it up and tie a bow around it. If it makes sense for the business, go in that route. Make a left turn. See what I did there? And if it makes sense for your strategy, make the right turn. Your plan A or plan B strategy. So that's my answer. Well, that's our answer now.
I love that. I love that the fact that me taking Lonnie's answer ended up becoming a classic Lonnie open-ended answer. That doesn't have like a specific answer, but it's just like your mileage may vary type of answer.
It's not your mileage may vary. I wouldn't go that far. I would actually say like it's a specific answer, but it does depend on the person. Because if I say, go get the United Club Infinite business card, somebody might actually be like, hey, I need to go get that because Lonnie said to go get that last week. And it doesn't make any sense for them. So just fill in the variable, solve for X, and fill in the variable for whatever X is for your strategy.
Oh, certainly. RJ, your thoughts on this one?
So Lonnie took my answer. So I'm going to take his from the last answer. And I'm going to say if your issuer of choice has a 2% card, mine would be the Blue Business Plus. Go simple. Because you're going to have to pay for gas, and there are going to be higher gas cards out there, right? But you also are going to have to pay for water bottles or maintenance on the car or other things like that. And if you do something like the Blue Business Plus or whatever 2% card you can get, it's a lot easier to have everything be 2% than it is to, okay, everything but gas is going to be 1%. Or I'm going to have multiple cards to have things higher than 1% or 1.5%. So I think if you're new to business and you're newer to business cards, going simple on something like this, especially to start, is going to be your best bet, because that way it's really simple. And yeah, gas is going to be a big expense, but you don't realize how much wear and tear it does to your car until you take it in for maintenance and you need a new muffler or you need new tires sooner than you thought you would, or all of the other things that are potentially going to be on the card. And that all being 2% or even 1.5% versus 1% can really be a big boost to you overall. So if you're Amex, Blue Business Plus would be my recommendation. If you're not, Wells Fargo has the Signified Cash. That's another 2% everything. So find what you can that's just more than 1%, ideally 2%, and go with that. And I think in the long run, until you sort of want multiple cards, that's the best way to go for a new business owner.
I can definitely agree with that. Now, I'm going to answer this within the narrow definition of, Uber driver, and then take a little bit more of an expansive answer as well. So you are only going to be an Uber driver, the U.S. Bank issued State Farm business credit card works out great because it gives you 3% cash back on insurance premium payments up to $4,000 in spend every year. As an Uber driver, one of the biggest things that you have to take into account is that your insurance premiums are going to go up because you're taking on a whole other level of liability that the insurance company has to deal with. So 3% cash back on $4,000 in spend annually works out pretty nicely for you there. You also get 3% cash back at gas stations and electric vehicle charging stations. You get cell phone service providers as a 3% cash back. You get office supply stores as a 3% cash back. So if you're keeping those water bottles, if you need to go buy those water bottles, keep snacks on hand. I don't know. I've never been an Uber driver or a Lyft driver who has snacks on hand, but if you're really going for that, 5.5-star treatment for your riders, buy snacks. You've got that covered. You get 3% on dining as well. You get 1% back on everything else. You're not going to be able to do that car maintenance portion of things, but you are going to be able to make your insurance payments a little bit later. You're going to make your gas payments a little bit later. You're going to get your cell phone payment taken care of because everything you're doing for this business is on your cell phone. You're also going to get cell phone protection on that card. You're going to be eligible for up to $600 in reimbursements with the cell phone protection. So in the narrowest definition of are you going to be an Uber driver, get this card. Wider definitions, you can definitely go with, as RJ said, the Blue Business Plus from American Express. You can do, if you want to funnel American Express down even further, and you don't want to necessarily worry about membership reward points, but you want to get Hilton points because you love staying at Hilton's, the Hilton Honors Business Card, just 5x on everything. You're going to be good there. If you're into Wells Fargo, the Signify Cash, great 2% card. If you want to start with Chase and you're just starting out, the Chase Ink Unlimited would be a solid way to go from there as well. So I think the basic kind of bare bones card with whatever your ecosystem of choice would be great, would be solid. But if you are just going hard into Uber, then the State Farm Business Cash Rewards card is probably the best card for you. So yeah, I wanted to take that as narrow as possible and then kind of give you more options from there. So we'll move on from there.
But before we move on, man, I gotta ask, how deep of a dive did you take to find that card? Like, that was not first page of Google search. That's probably like page 6 or 7. Like, how much digging did you go for that? Because that is like a legendary pull.
No, what you have to do in that case is check out friend of the pod, Dugrow's Reports, and he's mentioned this card. And as soon as I saw Uber driver, I was like, insurance, gas, phone. And I remembered that the State Farm card does insurance. It's like the only card I can think of that gives you anything for an insurance premium. So I was like, I went, okay, I need to find that card, because as soon as I saw Uber, I was like, I need something tailored specifically to an Uber driver. And there we go. So I don't know if that was that deep a pull. It's a weird card for sure, but it is like the best possible card I could think of for an Uber driver who wants to stick with Uber. Now, if you want to throw in some other business extracurriculars, that's fine.
Tariq, did you just underestimate Matt's knowledge?
No, but that was just really deep. Like, because I was researching business cards, and honestly, I was gonna throw in the Wyndham Business Earner, but I felt like one of y'all possibly would have done it, so I didn't because of the 8x on gas. I just was thinking of like how awesome that card is, and I was like, wow, should I open that card before? Because that one is like a really cool card. Because like you said, Matt, there's not many cards that earn more than like 2% cash back on insurance. So we never know.
I was going to start my response off with, if you're a degenerate gambler, you can open the Wyndham Business Earner card and match over to Caesars and just have fun from there. But I wanted to put a little more respect on our audience.
Understood.
So we'll move over to our next question. This comes from SpaethCo, who asks, business cards lack some legal consumer protections available to consumer credit as defined in legislation like the Truth in Lending Act and the Card Act. How does that affect what charges you're willing to put on a business card versus a personal card? So let's throw it to Lonnie to start this one off.
Yeah, I kind of answer this a couple questions back of, keep your business and your personal separate, pay your business card with your business account and pay your personal cards with your personal banking accounts. That just goes back to, as you were saying, they don't have the same type of protections. They don't have the same type of rules. They don't operate in the same lanes. They can do two completely separate things. We might be on the same highway. One of us is in a consumer car and the other person is a police officer or a highway patrol. They do not have the same rules, even though they're on the same freeway or highway, whatever you want to call it. And so that's the main thing. Now, give me a second. I'm going to jump back to the question just to make sure, because I think there was two parts in here. How does that affect what changes you're willing to put on the business versus personal card? So yeah, so going back to the spending side of it, that is, if you're going to do business legit, half legit, put your business spend on it. Like, separate your actual spending. So let's just say you are a consumer that's going for a business card, XYZ, whatever. You're not a legit business. You're not like, getting brick and mortar or anything like that. You're not opening up a retail store. Still, separate your charges out, not just based on your spending, but anything that you could consider a business spend. Your cell phone, your insurance, some of the things that you just listed off in the last one. These types of things are legit business expenses. Keep that stuff away. Now, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. If you want to go to that retail store and buy a t-shirt on your business card, by all means, go do it. Buy your socks. I don't care. It's not me. It's not my account. I ain't paying it off. I have no consequences or repercussions to what you do. But I can say I wouldn't recommend it. Make sure those charges that hit the business card are more business focused than they are on the personal side. And it's easy to split them up. Like I said, I put my cell phone on my Ink Cash card. I put my insurances on my Ink Cash card. But then I also put my subscriptions on the Ink Cash card because it goes through Verizon as a cell phone charge. You've all heard me say that before. But when I want to add another pair of shoes to my collection, I'm not putting that on my business card. Those types of things. So that's the way that I would approach it, and that's the way that I would look at it, just to make sure I'm fully protected. Because at the end of the day, if the IRS doesn't consider my YouTube channel a legit business, I mean, Chase still does, but if the IRS doesn't, I'm still slightly protected because I operated my YouTube channel as a business versus as just a cash and grab, give me some points and let me make some money card.
No, that makes sense.
I know. I said the three letters. No one in this world likes to hear. No one in this country likes to hear.
Look, I'm an accountant, and those three letters make me shiver.
When you get that white envelope in the mail with IRS in the upper left corner.
You don't even get the letters. You get the full name, Internal Revenue Service.
You know it's a
that make
bad day.
Oh, it'll make you wet yourself. I had my friend, I was like, hey, bro, you got a letter from the IRS. He was like, what? I was like, good luck.
You know it's a bad day when that white envelope shows up.
Right.
Especially when it comes from a town in the Midwest that you've never heard of.
But that just goes back to my point. If you are doing something if you're not following the rules fully, let's just say that you're not following the rules 80% to fully, the way that you do your taxes and those charges you say are legit business charges, you could get that white envelope in the mail. I've seen other people get it. So that's how I would answer that question: is do your best with full integrity and honesty as you can. It's not a game. It might be a game to us. And yeah, that first class business seat might be worth it for that one little trip that you took. But when April 15th hits and then on May 18th you get that white envelope in the mail, it might not have been worth it.
I'm going to be using found a lot in the next couple of days. RJ, how does the lack of consumer protections on business card affect your thinking or your process on these things?
So if it's anything that I could remotely see myself needing to return or having a dispute or anything of that nature, then I don't put it on business card. Because like I said before, Amex or Chase or whoever could just laugh and say, no, like, we're not going to do this chargeback, or we don't have to have your side. There is not a law saying we do, and we don't want to. And that is the end of the discussion. Like, that's the end of it. So if it's anything where I feel like there's even a hint I might need the protection, it goes on a personal card. And it's one of those things that the community, I don't think, talks about enough, as we're going to be talking about all episode. But that ability to just hit a button that says this is fraud. Like, I don't use my cards in places in general that I think are sketchy, but I definitely don't use my business cards there, because if something happens, I am on the hook for that full amount. And they can just come into my checking and take it whether I want them to or not, if I have it connected up to a personal account. So, I'm more cautious about it. I think Lonnie is 100% correct. Do I follow what he says 100% of the time? I don't. Should I? Yes, but I'm a rebel and without a cause, and I don't claim anything for the IRS that's business expenses, so I'm paying more taxes on it anyway. But yeah, I ultimately, if it's something where I'm ever thinking I might need to, have some protections, then it just doesn't go there, because there's literally nothing I can do if they say no.
Tariq, your response to the question?
So it's basically, to an extent, a little more specific to what RJ said. Yeah, unfortunately, I do put a little bit of personal spend on my business cards. But on that token, I wouldn't dare buy anything online with the business card if I'm going through eBay or some other website, because for consumer protections, I have bought 2 things on personal cards where I had to call Bank of America to say, hey, I need to dispute this transaction because this merchant never sent this to me, or I never got my package, and I tried to reach out to them and nothing. I got my money back, and there was no issues. They even charged back the foreign transaction fee that I didn't realize I was going to pay. But I tried that with one of my business cards. I called Chase for my income limited. They're like, tough breaks, you owe this next week, so pay up. So yeah, I wouldn't dare buy anything online, because you always hear about like all the risks of that potentially risky website that you may or may not get what you're gonna get. And I am not taking that chance because I don't like being conned out of my money. And I want to make sure if I'm going to put something on a credit card, I want to make sure the bank has my back. Or at least the facade of them acting like they have my back so they can take my money if need be.
You can't get your money back on your OF account, okay?
I don't know that we necessarily had to go there, but yeah, no, that's completely fair.
Lonnie, you trying to get me killed, man. Just spewing
Man.
lies on me, man. How dare you?
The way you lined that up, it just sounded like
Look, it was a t-shirt from my brother, and then it was a gift for my girlfriend. So stop trying to get me killed, Lonnie. Dang, man.
I love the fact that y'all went in the direction y'all two went with your answers, because it makes me feel like I went like to the far right extreme of how to use these things. And which I feel like now I need to dial it back.
Lonnie is telling people what they actually should do. That 87 to 94% of the credit card community doesn't do. But you are correct. Like, you are factually correct. This is what you should do. Just none of us do that, but you are correct.
We are all hard-headed to an extent. Me the most, because I'm the youngest out of the bunch.
I am just expensing the hell out of Dunkin' Donuts runs as production meetings. And all of that, and making sure that, you know, those are called production meetings for a reason, or for production meetings. You know, I take the same stance as RJ. If there's something that I'm going to need to, that I could possibly need to dispute, or I could possibly need to get resolved from my issuer, it's going to go on a personal card. If I am purchasing flights from JetBlue, I'm going to put that on the JetBlue business card, because it is most likely going to be something that is either going to be involved with the channel, or maybe I talk about with the channel, and maybe I can skirt that. Not the best example, but if it's something that's consumable, food, dining, maybe I needed to run to Stop and Shop for a at-home production meeting with my crew members. You know, just as long as I know that, you know, it's not something that I'm going to take the time to dispute, because it's not something I expect to dispute, I'm not going to worry about it too much. But if there's anything that I'm concerned about, anything that I want to get protections on, and like the sole exception to this is the new iPhone that I purchased. I did purchase that with a business card, but I made sure to purchase like whatever other side protections for the iPhone as part of the purchase. So now my consumer stuff is part of the purchase that I did with it. I'm not expecting to go through American Express to ask for an extended warranty. I'm just going to go, hey, Apple, I paid X amount for Apple Care when I made this purchase. You have the receipt for the Apple Care. Fix whatever I need fixing. And Apple used to have a "We're Awesome" policy. I don't know how awesome the "We're Awesome" policy is, but I expect Apple to at least work off of the Apple Care, not go through American Express, because that's the company I made the purchase with. So Apple is kind of like that sole exception where I'm going to buy extra things and make a bigger purchase to ensure that when I go to Apple, Apple is like, okay, no, we've got you covered. Other than that, if it's consumable, I'm not going to worry about it. If it is something that could raise eyebrows, I'm going to make sure that I put that on my personal card. If I want to claim it as part of my business, I try that by submitting the receipt and being told no. All right, let's move on to our last question, which comes from Keith S. Keith asks, can we start a petition for a Chase Ink Reserve card? Why hasn't Chase released an Ink Reserve card? They've built out some of their Sapphire Lounge network. This card would fit in very well with their portfolio and service offerings. Keith has a very limited audience on this one. I would love to see an ink reserve card. I would love a business card that would get you access into the Sapphire Lounges. They are building out their Sapphire Lounge network. I still need Philadelphia to open, Las Vegas. I need Sky Harbor to open before I really worry too much about other cards that can gain access into the network. But a Chase Ink Reserve card, Lonnie, you hold the Sapphire Reserve, as do I. What would you like to see out of a mythical Chase Ink Reserve card?
So I had never thought about this question until Keith asked it. And in most cases, most card issuers have a complement business version of like a personal card. It's almost like 1-to-1. Now I'm gonna say everyone has one, but for the most part, it's like RJ mentioned MX Green. There's an MX Green business. There's a gold. There's a gold business. There's a platinum. There's a platinum business. There's one for almost every platinum version of platinum out there. Same thing with like airline cards, hotel cards, everything. Everyone has like this like 1-to-1. There is no reserve ink card, Chase. And one of the reasons why I don't have the ink, I always mess up. I say Premier and I know it's preferred. I don't know why I do that. Matt, you call me out every time I do it. But
because the Premier is the 2% card we want, and the preferred is the card that is the Sapphire preferred business card.
Yep, I got a lot of videos with Matt putting in the comments, I think you mean preferred. And I'm like, shut up, Matt. I say it every time. I don't know why I always go to Premier first. I honestly don't. But that's like 1-to-1 with the Sapphire preferred card. There is no reserve. And then that means there's no ink card that gives those reserve protection, and not protections, those reserve benefits very similar. So Keith, yeah, I got to scratch my head a little bit and be like, I don't know why that is. Obviously, I can't speak for Chase, but I think I'd be down for it. I think I would actually, if I could get, let's just hypothetically call it 1-to-1. So I get the exact same benefits, credits, value that I get from the Consumer Sapphire Reserve. So the same $300 credit, the 1.5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think I'd get it. Now, I'm going to take reserve lounges out of it because they don't mean anything to me because I don't fly through any airports that currently have a reserve lounge, which slightly annoys me that I fly through Centurion airports more than I fly through reserve airports, and that they built one right there in New York on the other side of the water. Why couldn't you put it in EWR? Anyway.
LAX at some point, depending on your California travel.
True, but it ain't there yet.
Yeah.
It is not there. The Centurion Lounge is open and kicking, but the Reserve Lounge is not. But then at the same time, what I really want to see before I would see the card itself is additional benefits in which I could take advantage of the card. So now I am going to bring the Reserve Lounge back in. One, finish this initiation of these first like 10 or whatever, and then start building them out. The second thing, own the damn thing. It shouldn't be Priority Pass. It shouldn't be the club. It should be owned by Chase, because the only thing that makes things hot and wantable is exclusivity. It's one of the reasons people like the Platinum card, because like, oh, I get to go in the Centurion Lounges. I don't know if you've ever been in a Centurion Lounge before. They're not that great. They're okay, but I'm not going to say they're over the top great. Where some of the newer lounges, Etihad, Reserve, Capital One, these are like, people are now flocking that way. So if you are in a place that has one of these particular lounges, Centurion Lounge actually got some space in them nowadays, especially around globally in some of the other countries as well. Now, what would I like to see? I want to see the 1.5. I don't think the 1.5 boost in the Chase Travel Portal gets enough credit, for one, but it's only on one card. It's on the Sapphire Reserve. So it should be on the Ink Reserve. I'd actually like to see it boosted a little bit, make it 1.75, make it 2.0. If they did that, I would get rid of my Sapphire Reserve card and replace it with the Ink Reserve card. I know that perked your ears up, right? So I would probably say those are like my two things without killing the sign-up bonus. Please be more than 60,000 Chase UR points. That's the other thing, but we're going to leave that aside. Chase, you can do better. Shame on you. And then don't murder the annual fee either. Like 550 is good. Maybe 650, I think it should top out at. Don't make it like something ridiculous like 800, 850 or something like that just because you can. Keep it simple, keep it within reason. That's what I would like to see.
Tariq, I know you hold the Sapphire Preferred. Well, Tariq and RJ both hold the Sapphire Preferred. What would you guys want to see out of an ink reserve? And I'll start with RJ because RJ doesn't fear annual fees.
I do not fear annual fees. I think to the question of why haven't they done it, I think they just don't have to. People get ink cards, they hit their welcome offers, they use them, they abuse them, they close them, they wait, they open new ink cards. Like the ink train is chugging along. They don't have to put the effort into making a more reserved card because they just don't have to. So that's that part's question. As to what I would like to see, I do think sort of taking the Sapphire Reserve and kicking it up a notch would be good. Some form of permanent hotel status, some form of maybe a United Silver, something, even like letting people choose between them. Like you can choose, one hotel status, you can choose one airline status. I think they have the Southwest cards as well. So maybe a Southwest status if they ever get status now that they're turning into a real airline, or a United status, some form of a hotel status, something to sort of make it, be something noticeable. I know they're also toying with the Emerald. Maybe they would launch them at the same time. Sort of a new look for the cards. The Emerald comes out on the personal side, you get the ink reserve on the business side, and then Chase gets to print money for the next 10 years without having to change anything. So I think they don't have to do much off the reserve. The reserve is a really solid card, but I think sort of more permanent status and tuning things up would really get people excited. And dear God, do people like their ink train? So it wouldn't take much.
If I have to pay $650 on a Chase Ink Reserve for Marriott Gold status, I'm going to throw something out of a window.
Sapphire Preferred is currently giving away Marriott Gold status, by the way.
Oh, no, I'm one night from securing it, but like Marriott Gold status just befuddles me because you can get it on a $125 annual fee card and a $695 annual fee card and everything in between, and it annoys me because they hand it out like candy.
Either Marriott Gold status or Hertz President's Club.
Yeah, and Hertz will do terrible things. Tariq, what would you like to see out of a potential ink reserve card?
When I'm thinking about a ink reserve, obviously I'm thinking of like the ultimate business chase card. And I think one thing that could potentially be great is the earning multiplier capability. I see the Ink Premier, the one that Lonnie always gets confused with the Ink Preferred. And I see that it has, basically it's the 2X that Chase does not have on any of their cards. I'm curious to see how many people would flock to the Ink Reserve if they have a floor of 2% or 2X. Not even including the extra 0.5% boost that you would get on like the large purchases of like 5,000 or more. And then up the ante on like your regular business transactions. Throw in a gas category, throw in an elevated dining of it being 4 or 5X. Like on top of this, potential status, lounge access for the fee that they'll probably jack up to 650. Make it the card that everybody and their mother in the credit card community is going to talk about. And we'll probably see businesses apply for that card and put business spend on. But that's just what I want to see. Just make it the ultimate chase card for regardless if it's personal or business. and just, they're going to jack up the fee. They're going to do whatever they want for it because people are going to go crazy over it. I mean, we've seen the resurgence of the Sapphire Reserve, whether it's the best premium travel card, whether it's not. So throwing that on there is just going to make it's going to make the Venture X just look like the Venture, or even the Venture One in comparison.
The Ink Premier as a card that you could transfer out to transfer partners and just beefed up would be interesting for sure. Can we start a petition? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think Chase is going to answer the petition? Probably not. But a business card that does everything the Ink Reserve does, the Sapphire Reserve does. We didn't even talk about potential multipliers because Sapphire Reserve multipliers are fine. I would love to see like a 1.5x floor minimum, but that's just me. You can keep the travel, you can keep the dining. Yeah, I don't know about the dining. Business. I'm fine with the dining. Give that $300 travel credit, give some sort of hotel status, and maybe potentially a airline status, or like the perks that you get with holding an airline card just by holding that card. Maybe not full-fledged status, but something like an elevated experience with a partner airline with Chase. That would be solid. Access to the Sapphire Reserve Lounge, great. In terms of credits, extra credits, swap DoorDash for like Amazon Business, and you probably have the makings of a extremely solid card. I just don't want to pay $650 and get Marriott Gold. That's the only thing I'll ever ask of Chase is don't ask me to pay $650 for a business card and give me Marriott Gold. Marriott Platinum would be fun.
Let's be honest. If it's going to be any status, it's not going to be Marriott Gold. You're going to pay $650 and they're going to give you Hyatt Explorers.
Yes. Also, yes.
Still don't want it. Give me IHG Diamond and let's call it a day.
Sure. Let me have something. Something is better than what we have.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have is a $550 personal card that desperately needs some fixes. Just tweaks. But a business card at a higher end, have some fun.
Still a good card, though.
Oh,
CSR
yeah.
Still a great card. If you know how to use it.
Yes, I'm still learning how to use it. But it's basically my everyday dining card at this point. So Keith, I will definitely sign that petition. I have no idea what that card looks like, but I would love to find out. With that, I think we're going to put questions in the can for this week. Thank you so much for everyone who submitted questions this week and who submit questions every week. Remember, you can use the Stack Your Points Discord server. Just use the podcast questions there. You can email us, stackyourpoints@gmail.com, and drop a comment with your question on our YouTube feed on any of our episodes there. So we'll be glad to answer them here on the pod. So thank you so much for questions.